In the early 1800s, an individual set out to explore the far reaches of North America with the goal of painting every species of bird that existed. John James Audubon's objective was as much a pursuit of knowledge as it was an act of creativity. In the nascent field of ornithology, his was not the first attempt at such an effort, but it would surpass those who preceded him and inscribe his name among the most celebrated of 19th century Americans in the fields of art and science.
A man would have to have an enormous ego and self-confidence to undertake this enormous Birds of America project that he labored upon so diligently.
He became one of the most traveled people of his own time, venturing into places where no one had ever been before.
Audubon was the kind of person who walked into the room and he had this incredible aura around him. You know that everybody looked at him. He was just, sparks were coming off of him. He was just so high energy.
He used his eyes and his gun. He didn't have a Roger Tory Peterson field guide to the birds.
I think very simply you could say that nobody else has done it better.
Number one, like Elvis, he goes by one name, right?
Given the time, given the circumstances, what the man achieved is monumental. You could stack him up against anybody. Look what the guy did on the frontier.
By the time he finished, Audubon had traveled from Labrador, Canada in the north, down to Key West, Florida, the southernmost tip of the continental U.S., and to Scotland and England and France, back and forth across 7 trips over the Atlantic Ocean. The fruit of this effort was the publication of the 4-volume tome, The Birds of America, and the 5-volume ornithological biography. Where the Birds of America showcased his artistry, the ornithological biography recorded his observations of avian behavior and physiology. Both detailed over 400 birds, every species he could capture, draw, paint, document, and describe in exacting detail.
They are priceless, they are a national treasure that you could not put a value on it, just like you could not put a value on Leonardo's Mona Lisa. And I like to call Audubon America's Leonardo because he has many of the same aspects, the interest in science and art, this ineffable quality, the idea of people becoming so involved with him and so emotional about him, just like they do with Leonardo. It was really a kind of Renaissance man before the Renaissance in America.
He made the great migration of that era across the Appalachians into Kentucky and began a process that one historian has called the creation of Americans.
Today, in many places he traveled, one will find the name Audubon attached to a variety of organizations, places, and businesses. The most familiar use of his name is with the National Audubon Society. Formed in the late 19th century, the founders were inspired by the beauty of his art and dedicated their efforts to the conservation of birds and other wildlife. However, Audubon and his legacy is complicated for contemporary society. While among the first to note the impact of humans on wildlife and their habitat, he shot and killed thousands of birds in pursuit of his art. Even more problematic, Audubon, the son of a French captain who owned a plantation in Haiti, bought and sold slaves. Audubon relied on their labor as well as that of indigenous people, though he failed to acknowledge their contributions, just as he failed to acknowledge other collaborators over the years. The Audubon Society, along with its independent chapters, the birding community, and Audubon scholars, continue to re-examine the systemic racism and patriarchy embedded in Audubon's past, and to make the activity of birding and wildlife conservation more inclusive.